There is something completely sinister going on here, and I have to sound the alarm because CNN will not do it. Fox News, they will not do it. I have not seen this information hitting mainstream media, and so I have to come to you, my friend, with an urgent alert because if the UN, the United Nations, the conglomerate of Western nations and some other nations, Asian nations as well, South American nations, that comes together to agree on world affairs is running out of money, yes, citing their extreme debt and America's $40 trillion debt bill. If they run out of money, what exactly does the average Westerner's life look like by 2031? Will every country then become a quote unquote third world society at that time? Let's talk about it. Stay to the end, like this video, share this with people because CNN is not going to cover it. Fox News is not going to cover it. But this is serious because most people have viewed international institutions the same way over the years. They simply exist. See, the United Nations, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and dozens of other multinational organizations have become permanent fixtures in our modern world. But this is not Rome, this is not Venice, and this is not the Great British Empire. Let's talk about what's about to happen because there are some numbers that you need to be concerned about behind the scenes. Global debt has now reached all-time highs, historic levels. In fact, get this, according to estimates from the Institute of International Finance, major financial institutions' total global debt has exceeded, are you ready for this? Drop a number down below if you want to guess, but I'm about to say this number. Global debt has reached $300 trillion, representing well over 3 times the global GDP. Now, the GDP is the gross domestic product, the output that the world is able to produce. So they cannot cover, I mean, this is exceeding here, right? Because just double the GDP would be 80 trillion, okay? But we're at 300 trillion in debt, okay? And so we're far as a globe, the entire earth, exceeding the debt ratio, okay? The gross domestic product cannot upkeep with the debt that we have. The products that the world is producing is not enough to cover the world's business loans, so to speak. Meanwhile, many European nations continue struggling with aging populations, pension obligations, and slower economic growth. Wow, what a time to be alive, because on the other hand, of course, we see that Africa and Asia are rising. Just keep that in the back of your head. Now, Japan remains the most indebted developed nation relative to GDP. China faces mounting local government debt, a slowing property market, and demographic decline. And you may say, okay, the world owes debt. Who does it owe it to? Different nations owe to each other, basically. The United States holds debt that is mainly due to Japan, China, the UK, and I believe the fourth one is France, okay? So you can look this up by your individual country. I encourage you to actually do this right now. Like, pause this video, come back, leave a comment, let us know. Like, if you're in Spain, if you're in Mexico, if you're in Venezuela, if you're in South Africa, if you're in Botswana, if you're in Ghana, Kenya, Egypt, let us know where your country owes debt to, okay? Because everybody basically owes debt to each other, but nobody is paying down their debts. Now, this is an issue because the Bible, the Torah, actually talks about in Deuteronomy how the borrower is a slave to the lender. So basically, the nations on earth are all in a form slaves to each other, which is why you just have the personal finance issues that people have today. So many bank loans, so many credit cards, so much this, so much that. People that have to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week just to get by. This is exactly why. And this distinction matters because these systems do not fall dramatically in one day. They are going to become less effective for you year after year. This is why I'm citing 2031. What is this going to look like? This is a great time to talk to you about the urgent state of the diaspora in Africa for expats. Now, this can even be for you if you're like some of our clients who are in Mexico and want to go to Southern Africa or the islands of Africa, like a Cape Verde. like a Mauritius, like a Seychelles. Or if you are in Asia, Thailand, and you've been looking at the continent of Africa, like some of the expats we've met in person while being out here in Mauritius, Africa, which is an island off the coast of Madagascar in southeastern Africa, okay? The State of the Diaspora, the 23rd edition, since we've hosted this over and over since its beginning in 2024. It's based off of our previous travel curriculum, Dream Life Africa. It's urgent because we need to talk about anti-corruption, the best island nations that you can get residence in Africa, and how to prepare for 2031. You want to be in the room. Ticket is $100, okay? Check out the link in the description. Now, here's the silent pressure of these demographics. One of the largest economic challenges facing developed nations is their demographics. And let's actually break this down with a few bullet points, okay? Because millions of baby boomers will have fully entered retirement. Now, that may sound fabulous and wonderful, but here's the issue. The baby boomer population is so big, at least in America, that now the Gen Z, the millennials, these people are not repopulating to replace the baby boomer generation, okay? And when you cannot replace a population and an entire generation of people, obviously your economy can't do that well because it requires humans to have an economy. Like, there's no economy on earth that just runs on just nothing. Like, humans are the basis of everything on earth, and most certainly also the economies. Healthcare expenditures are projected to rise significantly. This makes sense. With baby boomer populations continuing to age, they're going to need more healthcare, obviously, okay? Hospice care, cancer care, all types of different cares. Pension obligations are continuing to increase, and the workforce participation rates may decline across many advanced economies. Now, this is by design because we know if we look at the United States of America, it may hit Europe and other nations later. But if you look at the United States of America, the AI takeover, how these companies are firing people, getting rid of DEI, getting rid of just everybody, whites, blacks, whatever color you are, they're getting rid of you in the workforce, okay? The workforce participation rates are declining, and it's not because people don't want jobs. Don't get that twisted. It's because these conglomerates and these entities do not want human workers. Okay, that's why. We're going to leave that at that because that'll be a whole different conversation for another day. But I want you to think of an economy as a very large ship. For decades, younger workers supplied this economy and the energy needed to move the vessel forward. Okay, this is why young people are important. This is why it's important to follow Genesis 1, be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth. Now, fewer workers are supporting more of these retirees. The reality is one reason governments around the world continue discussing retirement age increases, immigration reforms, and tax adjustments. So why would a nation want to increase the retirement age? Because they feel like they have too many retired people. So they're like, hey, from 60 to 65, from 65 to 70. These are the conversations that nations around the world are having due to personal finance. And then, of course, we have the rise of regional blocks. The world that we are entering into in 2031 is going to look totally opposite of 2026. Like, let's just be honest. 5 years ago in 2019, or I should say 2021, goodness, math. 5 years ago in 2021, the world looked a lot different. Let's be real. What did the world look like in 2021? Somebody leave a comment down below. We were in the C19 era. We did not have all these regional blocks increasing. There's a lot of stuff that just wasn't there. BRICS was available, but it wasn't as exceeding as far as it is today. African nations did not have as many retirement permits as they do today. They weren't prepared for the migration of many people out of the West like a lot of these nations are today, as well as Asian nations. And in 2021, there was no Wall Street Journal citing the fact that millions of Americans are fleeing abroad. This is a new thing that just happened in the last couple of years since 2024. Remember that, okay? And one likely outcome that is bound to happen by 2031 is a shift away from a heavily centralized global model. We are going to shift towards stronger regional alliances. We already see signs of this trend. So if you're like, I don't believe that's going to happen, just give me a moment. Let me get my thoughts out here, because this is going to take over the globe, and you're not going to have this type of one world government the way that you may think. Instead, there are going to be regional blocks, regional associations in each geographical location of the earth. The South American bloc, the North American bloc, the Madagascar block, the Mascarene Island block, the, South Asian block. This is what it's going to look like, because countries are increasingly relying on their immediate neighbors for regional trade agreements, strategic resource partnerships, local manufacturing, food security, and energy independence. Don't get it twisted. Of course, the result of this is going to be a world that does not feel as integrated as it did in the 1990s and the early 2000s. They're not necessarily going to be disconnected, but it's going to be, hey, in my region, this is how things are going with our economy. In my region, this is how things are going with the AI data centers, things of that nature. And this is the new geography of wealth. By 2031, wealth may continue flowing towards jurisdictions that offer a combination of, you may want to get your pen and your pencil out, political stability. This is why we cover this in the State of the Diaspora group intensive. Okay, $105 is your ticket. Low corruption, predictable taxation, strong property rights, and strategic geographical positioning. When we talk about strategic geographical positioning, this is what I want you to have in mind. I want you to think ancient kingdoms. There's a reason ancient Egypt was located on the Nile and became a world superpower, or the dominant superpower. There's a reason the Swahili coast existed in ancient times and traded with China and India and Persia and all the folks. There is a reason that the Indian Ocean trade happened as well, meaning when they would trade, obviously slaves, spices, ivory, everything else, the same as the Swahili trade happened, the Indian Ocean trade that went not just like where I am right now in the Indian Ocean on this remote island, but also towards Australia, okay, towards Polynesia. Like, there's a reason these trades happened, and these old regional blocks are going to come back. I believe the regional blocks are going to come back from the old world. Okay, this is also when you talk about the book of Jeremiah, seeking the ancient path. You want to understand what the ancient world and the ancient path was like, as in the days of Noah as well. This is why it's so important to understand what happened before is going to happen again, but it's going to be updated, because there's no new thing under the sun, according to the book of Ecclesiastes. Okay. Now, historically, wealth seeks certainty. Most definitely, investors and entrepreneurs often prioritize environments where rules remain relatively consistent. As an entrepreneur, a 10-year entrepreneur, I own a retention marketing firm that has gotten my clients collectively $31.9 million to date, working with banks, real estate firms, healthcare agencies, things of that nature. But even as an entrepreneur, when I think investment, this is one of the reasons that we wanted to come to Mauritius. Number one, for doing business in Africa and getting ready to position itself as the next Singapore of Africa, okay? Because investors do not want to go somewhere where the economy is collapsing. By the way, I was going to save this for another video, but if you're at the 12-minute point, you are so blessed, because listen, I saw an article the other day. I'm going to try to leave it in the description, and I may cover it in another video, but I want to segue into this. Millionaire investors in America that were investing from other countries. This is a historical thing. They are pulling out and leaving America. Somebody pause and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this, because I saw that article come up on my Google alerts, and it's shocking. But at the same time, my husband and I have been speaking on these things since 2019, when we decided that it was time to leave the West. It's just interesting to see it happen in real time. It's very surreal. Like, oh yes, we know we made the right decision, but also, wow, this thing is happening quickly. Millionaire investors who were invested in states like California, New York, Texas, these types of places, they are pulling their millions out in exchange to go somewhere like a Singapore, in exchange to go somewhere like a Mauritius. This is historical. This has never happened in America's history. And this is why I continue to say America, the United States of America, as it was in the 1900s, is fallen. Okay. Just know that. Somebody type Babylon is fallen in the description, or sorry, in the comments. But of course, this helps people to have more interest in places I was just talking about. The United Arab Emirates, Singapore, Botswana, Mauritius. These locations are not necessarily immune to global challenges. However, just pause. However, many are positioning themselves as stable operating environments during a period of broader uncertainty that's occurring in the world, because again, we still have the US Israel Iran war. I don't want to say just the US and Iran, because Israel is in that war. Let's not forget that. And then we have the fact that AI, artificial intelligence, everybody's best friend, is changing everything. Okay. Now, I've sat on these tech contracts with companies doing big, big, big money. Okay. From 10 million in VC funding, flipped it in 2, 3 years to 350 million in revenue. Okay. These, I'm telling you, artificial intelligence, if y'all only knew the half, maybe I'll try to do some classes on our members only. You should subscribe to that link down below or just click the join button on this channel, because the wild card in the 2031 forecast is artificial intelligence. And it's going to depend on these regional geographic blocks. Of course, North America is going to have vastly different AIs than Southern America and Southern Africa and the island nations in Polynesia, because some of these islands that are towards the Near East are not as developed and they're not going to be as ready for robots. I believe that this is something that they realized in C19, like, okay, everybody on the globe is not going to be doing things the same exact way. So whatever we're doing in North America, we're just going to lock it down there, and the people that are trapped there, they're just going to be stuck with it. Meanwhile, the people who have found freedom in the Near Eastern islands, in the African islands, in the Australian Polynesian islands, they're going to continue living like regular human people, okay? Because most economic forecasts struggle because they assume incremental economic change with AI, but AI is actually going to produce an exponential change. Just look at what Elon Musk and the guy who owns Neo, these robots that are going to be cleaning your house, coming to your front door. They have that Wayo, is that what that car service is called, with the robot car that drives you around? Like, we don't have these things on the continent. There may be some countries like South Africa that end up getting them, perhaps a Kenya way later down the line. But for the most part, like, I don't foresee Burkina Faso just having robots walk down the road. I don't really foresee a Madagascar, a Mauritius having robots walking down the road, okay? Just think about that. Really consider that. Again, this is why we do the State of the Diaspora, to really talk about these things, because when we talk about traveling abroad, investing in another country, retiring in another country, going to where you feel like you're going to be treated 10,000 times better than the United States of America, we also have to touch on economics, geopolitics, and anti corruption. Okay. Now, governments may use AI to reduce operational costs. America has already stated education, healthcare, and finance will look dramatically different. And entire administrative departments may become automated. So you're going to have more job loss. Now, if you're someone that has lost a job and you're like, I just don't know what to do, I want to encourage you right now. Take a deep breath, believe in yourself. You have gotten outcomes for that business that hired you, that corporation. Remember those outcomes, write those down, write down some of those good testimonials, those good case studies you got, and then learn how to open your online consultancy. A lot of you Americans are very skilled, more so than most people outside of America, because America has built so many of these corporations that other nations don't have. Take those skill sets, start your business, figure out which outcomes that you can guarantee for clients online or clients in person. Start offering that service. I've been doing it for 10 years. I've taught dozens and dozens of people, copywriters, marketers, engineers, how to bring their product to market. Even one of our clients that was a alumni in Black Educators Amplified, she was able to take all of the work we did with her website copy, her strategic communications document, pitch it to the government of Botswana to get a 5-year residence through her business. So check out the Introvert Marketer playlist, check out the Black Educators Amplified playlist, or visit www.tiffygwrites.ai, leave a question form, and inquire about how you can get your business off the ground. Because if you don't, you see what's going to happen. They're going to replace everybody. The only people that may not be replaced, and hopefully not replaced, are nurses. I believe nurses are some people that should not be replaced. I think bedside etiquette is very important from humans and not robots. But, you know, with the United States, Babylon, Mystery Babylon, you never know what she's going to do. And so hopefully they don't replace nurses. I would hope not. But they've already talked about replacing surgeons. Okay. They say the robotic surgeons are more accurate than human surgeons. And so I'm sorry if you've spent all that time becoming a surgeon. You may want to rethink this. Just pause, take a day off from your job. I encourage everybody to do this. Take a day off from your job and really start to understand AI and say, what's at risk here? Do I need to kind of start a side hustle, a side business? I would say yes, but it's totally up to you. Now, here's the simulation of 2030. This is going to be really fun to do really quick. I want you to imagine opening your laptop in 2031. You live in one country, you operate a business in three, your clients are spread across 6 different continents. Your banking relationships exist across multiple jurisdictions. Your healthcare operations are international. Shout out to Safety Wing. Your income is primarily digital. Your retirement planning is not dependent on a single government program, okay? In this future, resilience becomes more valuable than prediction and from things that you used to know about in the past. The new type of world that we are going into is going to require this level of optionality for you to be not trapped in the system that they are setting up for you in America. Now, the real lesson is the United Nations financial challenges are not the main story, but they are a signal. They are a type of notification that you should look at, an emergency notification that lets you know things are about to change. Now, let's be real. The world of 2031, it may not be poorer and it may not be richer, but it will almost certainly be more decentralized, more digital, more regional, and more competitive than the world that we know today and the world that we knew in previous generations. For global minded families, retirees, expats, investors, and entrepreneurs, the question is no longer if change is coming, change is here. And the real question is whether your plans are flexible enough to move with it, or will you get trapped in the change the way that the AI companies, Elon Musk, and all the folks have you set up to be trapped in the West. I don't think you need to be trapped. I believe you can do it. I believe you have the skills, the resources, the talents. I believe your greatest wealth is your brain, your divine creativity, the experiences that the Most High Yah has set in you. You just have to figure out how to dig that gold out of your brain, out of yourself, out of your business, and put it on the international market. Start offering those services to Singapore. Start offering those services to Dubai. Start offering those services to Mexico. Offer your global services. Become a global consultant. Start thinking for the long haul, because the United Nations is not going to be able to save nobody with $300 trillion in debt. Shalom, shalom. I'll see you in the next video.